Hey, I'm Olivia, and you're listening to Soarin Around WDW. Happy Wednesday, Flight Crew. We are back this week wrapping up our World Showcase for Parks of the Present in Epcot. We have gone all the way around the world and we have almost landed to our next destination, but we are going to start off continuing clockwise around the World Showcase and going with France. So, France is the next pavilion on the list. This pavilion was an original pavilion, October 1st, 1982, and it's themed to look like a Paris neighborhood, to no surprise, with a pool and fountains and this view of the Eiffel Tower in the distance. A lot of the shops on the streets are actual shops that do sell French goods. They do have the perfume shop there. They also have a sweet shop. They have a hat shop. And the pavilion also features Impressions de France, which is a panoramic movie and visits France's different cities and historical structures as well. It does include two French restaurants, the Bistrot de Paris and the Les Chefs de France, as well as a bakery, the Boulangerie Pasterie. And in this area, there's also some different advertisements for Disneyland Paris, which is kind of a fun little thing that they throw in there, as well as souvenirs that feature Disneyland Paris too. So I thought that was kind of cool. And they do, of course, have the Kidcot Fun Stop at this pavilion as well. After this pavilion, when you keep moving around the circle, comes the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom is set along British streets like Tudor Lane, High Street, and Upper and Lower Regency streets, along with the Waterside Pub. The United Kingdom Pavilion is actually designed to look like a typical British village, and it does look like one out of 100 villages that are in the UK, although it could be argued that it is more stereotypical with buildings based on several different periods of British architecture. So it does have a lot of stereotypical quote unquote things like the telephone booth and the British gardens, which do include a hedge maze. The shops sell British items like tea, different British toys, clothing, and of course, the Beatles merchandise. There is also a band there that was previously called the British Invasion. We'll kind of talk about that in a little bit, what they're called today. But they perform hits from acts like The Police, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Blur, and Led Zeppelin daily in the pavilion. And of course, there is a Kidcot Fun Stop in this section of the park as well. Then continuing on around the circle is Canada, and this is the last and final stop before you get back. We've done this full loop through these pavilions, and this was again original October 1st, 1982. Prior to the construction of the pavilion, Walt Disney Productions actually sought the financial support for the themed pavilion from the Canadian government, and the company wanted the federal government to fund the cost of the attraction, and in return, the government would have input and a lot of say into the design and the layout. But the Canadian government was concerned about the stereotypical Canada vision that Disney had prompted, i.e., like lumberjacks and different things like that. And so funding was refused, and Disney threatened to pull the pavilion altogether, but ultimately decided not to. And Canada's landmark is actually the Hotel du Canada's French Gothic, which is surrounded by Victoria Gardens on one side, as well as totem poles on the other side. And the pavilion does have three native totem poles up to 30 feet in height. Two of those totem poles are made of fiberglass, and one is carved out of wood. The new wood totem pole was carved for the pavilion in 1998. And at one time during the planning, the pavilion was actually supposed to be divided by a main street of shops and restaurants, one side representing the French Canadian side and the other side the more English Canada. But around 2004, Trapper Bob's closed down in the Canada area, and Trapper Bob's used to feature the beaver tail, which is like a flat donut-like pastry and had different toppings that you could get on it. And the small cabin that housed the tails remains, but it doesn't actually sell these beaver tails anymore, and that was a big thing that this pavilion had been known for in the past. Again, there is a Kidcot Fun Stop in this pavilion, and much to Canada's dismay, they do have this Canadian lumberjack show. So these pavilions, I think, are definitely some of my favorites out of the entire World Showcase. I think the theming is great. There's a lot of great attractions and restaurants and things that we'll get into as we talk through them. But Yeah, Dad, what are some of your initial thoughts about these different pavilions and kind of where they're at in ranking for you as far as your favorite?
Well, my favorite probably has always been Canada. I love the gardens, the Victoria Gardens. What I guess they call them that. Those are phenomenal. I like just the architecture. I like the when you walk through the stream there between Victoria Gardens that takes you over to the theater area, the 360 theater. I'm sure you walk through there many times, with the little waterfall through there and the water,
Yeah.
the totem poles, and the whole feel of it. I just like that. And when we camp, we go north. It feels like that. So I always really enjoy that. Of course, the UK is cool. I wish the UK, and they talked about having a Mary Poppins attraction, if you remember, with the new Epcot redesign, and
Yeah.
I got taken off the drawing board. Sadly, that would have been awesome to have something in there because there's I like it. It's great, but I don't spend a lot of time in the United Kingdom because there's really not a lot to do. Wander through the stores a little bit.
Right.
That's about it. And the French Pavilion is also awesome, and that's of course been really with the movie, and of course having the Ratatouille attraction. And I know we'll probably talk about that. So yeah, I like them. I like them all, but Canada is one of my favorites in the whole World Showcase.
Yeah, and yeah, Canada is pretty cool. My favorite is probably France. I think between the Ratatouille ride and just the different shops that they have back in there, I think it looks a lot like Paris. I do like the UK. I like the way that it looks. I like the meet and greets that they have there, but I agree, missing the attraction, there's definitely something more they could do with that space, and we definitely can get into that as we talk about it and as we get into our Epcot of the future episodes coming down the road. So yeah, these pavilions are all great and all usually pretty popular and a great place to stop for food, especially during the different festivals. They often have a lot of really cool things. I know in Canada specifically, maple flavored things are a big deal there. I know the beaver tail sounds right up my alley. It's like any kind of donut with different toppings sounds delicious. But yeah, so moving over into the actual attractions within these pavilions, there are a couple throughout the three different ones, and kind of starting over in France. The first one is the Palais du Cinéma, and this does have two different rotating 15-minute shows. And we'll kind of talk about what was the original, what was new. But the original was Impressions de France. This was opened with the park on October 1st, 1982. And it was updated January 17th, 2020. And at that time, they actually started to rotate between this show and the Beauty and the Beast sing-along show that is still there today. So the same day as the Canada attraction was reopened after being revamped January 17th, 2020, which we'll talk about there in a little bit, they redid this movie too. And the movie is projected onto five adjacent screens, so it's not quite Circle Vision 360. It's about 220 degrees of coverage. And in 2019, they announced that the film will be sharing the theater for this Beauty and the Beast sing-along. During the time, the film was remastered for the 4K projection. And the film is actually set to a musical score written by Buddy Baker and encompasses the music of classical French composers like Claude Debussy, Camille Saint-Saëns, and the film is the work of the director Rick Harper and produced by two-time Academy Award nominee Bob Rogers. So this film's aerial views, kind of mixed with the closer views, includes the Eiffel Tower, the Champs-Élysées, the Arc de Triomphe, the French Alps, Versailles, as well as scenes from Cannes and Notre Dame, as well as Normandy. So there's actually a very long list of different scenes that it covers, but those are kind of the most prominent. And the movie is presented with this lively classical soundtrack. The narrator is a man named Claude Gobet. And kind of fun fact, this is the longest running daily screening of a film in the same theater. And the record that it hit was for 35 years. It was achieved by the Impressions de France show in the US or in the France Pavilion, and they won this October 1st, 2017. So now obviously it rotates, so not they can't really add on to that. But yeah, they won this award for being the longest running show for 35 years, which is pretty cool. Impressions of France also has been shown is shown multiple times every day And so it is the longest daily running show in a single theater of the same unmodified film of any length. So they didn't make any changes for those 35 years. So quite a long time and frequent showings because it's very short with 15 minutes. The Beauty and the Beast sing-along, this opened January 17th, 2020, and it's narrated by Angela Lansbury. The sing-along is this abridged version of the film that kind of focuses on the character LeFou and how he helps to bring Belle and the Beast together, similar to the movie The Lion King 1.5, if you guys have ever seen that, which is basically a movie that kind of shows how things came to be in the Lion King movies. And LeFou kind of has this redemption arc in the attraction, and they try to reference the arc that he was given in the end of the 2017 live action film remake. His silly dance that he does during Be Our Guest is supposed to be a reference to Dopey from Snow White. And then during the scene of LeFou making Belle's dancing gown, he hums Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo from Cinderella. So it's kind of like not just clips of the different music, but the story kind of remastered with sing along, but also adding some new things. I've actually not ever seen this Beauty and the Beast sing along, but I had just always assumed when I saw Beauty and the Beast sing along, okay, they're going to play some Beauty and the Beast songs and people sing along. But this actually sounds very cute. I think it would be something I enjoy. Bella's my favorite princess, so I'm always down for something new, Beauty and the Beast. And it makes me want to go watch it next time I'm there. But I do remember Impressions de France. It's a beautiful film. The scenes are very, very fun to look at. So I think it'd be cool to do a double feature and kind of stay for both shows. But Dad, have you seen this Beauty and the Beast sing-along version? And how many times do you think you've seen Impressions de France?
I've seen Impressions of France probably 6 or 7 times. I love it. I think it's fabulous. Being a cyclist and the whole Tour de France thing, I've seen a lot of France that way through the TV, but watching the Tour de France and all the beauty, that France has to offer, it's an amazing place. Someday, hopefully, I'll get over there. But I've never seen the Beauty and the Beast thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. And yeah, knowing your love of Beauty and the Beast, you definitely have to take you and your kids to go see that. I think you get a real kick out of that. It sounds great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it would be very fun for them. And Eiley really loves Belle too. Not maybe much as I do, but as much as I do, but she does, yeah, enjoy the movie. And so I think they would like it and think that it's fun. So yeah, definitely something I want to add to the list. And then the next attraction in France is Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. And this is obviously a newer attraction. It opened October 1st, 2021. And it's an LPS trackless dark ride located also at Walt Disney Studios Park in France. And then obviously here in Florida at Epcot. And the ride actually first opened in France on the 21st of June in 2014. And the second opened, as we said, October 1st, 2021, 7 years later. The premise of the ride is that you shrink to the size of a rat, you fall into the restaurant, and you're chased out by the chef, joined by other rats for a feast kind of at the end of the ride. But you go all throughout the kitchen, and there's all these big pieces of food. But it also is a 3D experience. So you wear 3D glasses. There's lots of effects like heat, air, different scents, and water. It really makes it this immersive experience. And the reason that or the way that they announced this ride is in 2008, there were all these rumors online that Disneyland Paris planned to construct this Ratatouille themed ride in Toon Studios for the park's 20th anniversary. And following the initial rumors, articles on the internet surfaced of these concept paintings, ride blueprints, as well as images of the first phases of construction, confirming there really would be this attraction. And construction began in 2012, so it took a couple of years to actually make this ride because it opened in France in 2014. But the initial name was Ratatouille. I'm going to totally butcher this because I do not speak French, but Desastre and Cuisine, which means Ratatouille Kitchen Calamity. The attraction was formally announced March 2013 at the Euro Disney SCA's annual shareholders meeting as Ratatouille l'Adventure Totalmente Toqué de Remy, with the opening date set for summer of 2014. Construction for the attraction was complete in June, and it had an estimated budget of 150 to 240 million dollars, which is a wild number to think about. On the 21st of June, it opened and was officially inaugurated by the then president and CEO of the company, Bob Iger. And the attraction fully opened to the public on the 10th of July. So technically, I guess July 10th was the opening in France. On August 27, 2021, following Disneyland Paris's reopening, Walt Disney Studio Parks announced the attraction was set to become of this World of Pixar area. And then on July 15th, 2017, Disney Parks announced during D23 that a duplicate of the ride would come to Epcot's France Pavilion in Walt Disney World in Orlando. And construction began in November of the same year. And after construction delays because of the pandemic, the attraction didn't end up opening until October 2021, which was part of the 50th anniversary celebration for the Walt Disney World Resort and the 39th anniversary of Epcot as well, which October 1st, obviously, like we've talked about a lot throughout this series, along with a new restaurant that would be coming towards the back of the pavilion, which is La Crêperie de Paris, located nearby that attraction, which is kind of, like I said, all the way to the back. Like we talked about in recent news on another episode a few weeks ago, on March 22nd of this year, a fire actually broke out behind this ride, and fire crews rushed to the scene, cleared everybody out, and it was actually just like a walk-in fridge that set on fire. Luckily, the actual attraction was fine, nobody was hurt, and the ride reopened the next day. The ride vehicles are rats, like we talked about. And so you ride in this little rat. Each rat sits six people, and there are 36 rats that you can ride. The duration of the ride is just under 5 minutes. So it's a pretty good length of attraction, actually, I think. And this ride does have Lightning Lane Multipass as an option for, I believe it's a tier one at Epcot, as well as a regular line. And then they did just open single rider line. When it first opened, it did have virtual queue initially, but that is now gone. And it's frequently the option for families with small children to rope drop. So if you want to ride this without waiting in a very long line, my suggestion is get there first thing in the morning. The line moves pretty quick when you go right at rope drop if you're staying at a resort. If you're not staying at a Disney resort, I would definitely get the Lightning Lane because it's going to be a pretty long wait throughout the day, and it does have pretty frequent breakdowns. I think all these trackless rides break down quite a bit because there's just a lot that can go wrong with them if the magnetic system isn't working. But what did you think about this ride, Dad, when we went on this last year? That was your first time, first and only time going on it, right? Was when you went with us on this?
Yeah, first and only time, and I loved it. I thought it was great. I was kind of looking forward to riding it. I saw some YouTube videos of the one I think in Paris, right?
Yeah.
And it looked really good. I just like the trackless ride and the 3D glasses, and Disney just does that so well. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Even my wife Doreen, we love the movie, and it fits, right? It's in France. This is when an IP really works, much like Frozen over Norway. It's just a place to put it. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I think we really like it. It's funny, Blake, it was her first time last year when we went, I believe. I think it was her first time. Now I'm trying to remember if maybe she went when she was a tiny, tiny baby, but she was old enough to kind of like have an idea of what was going on, and it freaked her out. I think like seeing the guy chase you out of the kitchen and you're kind of moving fast, and it is a little bit loud, but for the most part, it's a very cute ride. It's very well done. And it's one that we love to ride now every time we go. So it's a really fun one for sure. We like it. And then going over to Canada, since the UK does not technically have an attraction, the Canada attraction is called Canada Far and Wide in Circle Vision 360. And this most recent show opened January 17th, 2020. The pavilion's previous 360-degree show was called Oh Canada, and that was updated in 2007. The new version reuses some of the clips from the original show, but mixed in with new ones. And most notably, the new version was hosted by Canadian-born actor Martin Short, and the song in the finale has been re-recorded with a new vocalist. Now, this new show, Canada Far and Wide, is actually narrated by Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara, which I did not know. I think that's so fun. They're obviously a very famous Canadian actors. And replacing Oh Canada, Canada Far and Wide was featured and updated with sequences, new musical score by Andrew Lockington. And according to touringplans.com, this is the third film in that pavilion since Epcot opened. As in the previous films, Montreal, Calgary, and Vancouver get their own segments. Some have been repurposed from the old films, and then Far and Wide has additional clips of Canada's capital, which is Ottawa, and specifically mentions its three territories, the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. and highlights their indigenous peoples and cultures as well. So this is one that I have not been in since the update. I remember going in it as a kid, especially because of the Circle Vision 360, but I really couldn't tell you for some reason the France stuck out a lot more to me than Canada, but I know we went in it. So what are your memories of this attraction, Dad?
Yeah, we've been in this a number of times when you were little, and I've gone in it probably a few times since the update because the one movie was there, seemed like it was there forever with Martin Short.
Hmm.
I like it. It was a great place to go. You're kind of walking, in the summer, again, a place to go in and just cool off. It's dark and you have to lean against those. You have to stand up. That's the only problem. A lot of people, I remember sitting down, and the cast members would be like, "You have to stand up. You can't, sit down on the carpeted floor." Unfortunately, but just have to lean against those lean bars, I guess. But I like it and see it every time. I haven't seen it now for a number of years, but I did see the updated one, and it's good. But it's just a great place to cool off. And I wish they would offer a little bit more in Canada other than a movie. You think
Yeah.
they'd be able to have some cool ride or something, uh, even like a water ride of some sort with a fall, some sort of falls in it, kind of like the one over in Animal Kingdom, except with a Canadian twist. I thought something like that would be great. Of
Yeah.
course, it's a big budget thing. So, but
Yeah.
that's just my thought. But yeah, I do like the movie and great place to cool off.
Yeah, I think if each pavilion could have some sort of ride, that would be ideal for sure, or some sort of like other attraction that's a little more than just a show. I think the show is neat. I think trying to showcase so much of the different countries with some of these shows is a great thing too. But there seems to be, I'm gonna have to pull up the map too, but there seems to be a lot of space over but kind of between the UK and Canada, and they have, I know there's like an event space over there as well that I wish they'd get rid of that and put some kind of attraction between the two countries even. But yeah, there is, it's the show there is neat, but yeah, not for me, for whatever reason, not as memorable as the France show was for whatever reason in my brain. And then moving on into dining. So there is quite a bit of dining between these different pavilions. So the first place that was in France is the new one that we talked about, the La Crêperie de Paris. And this is a sit-down restaurant. It's a prix-fixe menu where they do have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which I didn't realize that this was that back there. I just assumed like silly that they had just like little quick service thing, but they have different like buckwheat crepes, like classic French crepes. So they have ones with chicken, salmon, as well as like a ratatouille crepe. And they all seem kind of like savory crepes. And then they do also have different dessert crepes, which is more of what I think of. So like things with hazelnut, apples, and caramel. They have whipped cream you can add on the top, granulated sugar. So that's kind of the breakfast menu. And then the lunch menu is very similar and has actually the same, pretty much the same crepes. It actually looks like this is what they serve all day now that I'm looking at it a little bit more. And they have different ciders, French wines, as well as different imported soft drinks and juice that it says they're imported. I don't know if they're really imported from France or not, but the prices kind of range between soups of the day being like $10 and most of the crepes being about 20 for the entree crepes with like meat, more of the savory ones, and the dessert crepes being about 11-ish dollars and counting. So there are a lot of different options there. And obviously, it's a creperie, so you're gonna order a crepe and you have to like crepes to go there. But I don't know if it's somewhere I would necessarily go to sit down and eat, but it does seem like it's at least a nice area to, eat in the back that takes away some people from the front of the pavilion because most of the other restaurants are towards the front. But it is, you have to have a reservation to sit down there. There are some walk-up reservations that you can get, but something to consider. There is also a quick service crepe area called Crepes Importer, and this is more of like the quick service kiosk, like what I was thinking of. And I can't remember if this quick service place was there before or not. I thought it was, but they do also similarly have some savory crepes as well as some sweet. So the savory ones, they do have a ratatouille one. They have a brie cheese one, cheese and ham. And then some of the sweeter crepes are the butter and sugar, hazelnut chocolate, red berries, or vanilla chocolate ice cream crepe, which sounds delicious. So again, just some different things that you can get back in this pavilion that are very classic French. French crepes are delicious. So have you been back there, Dad? Do you remember was the other quick service crepe place there or no? I thought they did have that somewhere, but now it's all the way back by the attraction, so I guess not.
Yeah, I don't remember that from back in the day at all. I never spent a lot of time in the French pavilion, but I could see myself because of the Ratatouille ride,
Yeah.
wandering around probably more because of that. And there's
Hmm.
some, I think the meet and greet too, right? Isn't Belle there? Maybe you're going to bring that up,
Yeah.
but I know Belle was there quite often too. I remember you guys waiting for Belle to get her autograph.
Yeah, yeah, there are some meet and greet opportunities more towards the front of the pavilion as well. And so, yeah, that's true. I feel like now that the ride is back there, you go a little further back and kind of see a little more when you're going to the attraction. So it just brings more people to all these
Right.
shops and restaurants that they have for sure. And then another restaurant that they have is the Les Halles Boulangerie, and this is just like a French bakery, and they have lots of different things here. They do have some sandwiches for lunch and dinner, like a BLT, poulet au pistou, which is like chicken breast with cheese sandwich. They have a brie with apples and cranberries, a croissant sandwiches as well, like ham and cheese. And then they do also have daily soups, baguettes, all kinds of different like cheese plates, croque monsieur, which is kind of like toasted ham and cheese, like kind of like a grilled cheese with ham on it, and beignets. They have different chocolate croissants, so all kinds of different macaroons as well, chocolate eclairs. So some delicious sweets, and then they do also have coffees, different like cappuccinos, espressos, lattes, regular coffee as well. And they as well, again, another thing that they serve there is more alcohol. They have mimosas, Chardonnay, Cabernet, Champagne, and then frosé as well. So like frozen rosé. So this sounds delicious. I mean, any kind of pastries that are sweet are up my alley. I have had a croque monsieur before, and they are pretty good. I have not had one here in the French pavilion, but I've had one in France and it was delicious. So that is another more like quick service menu place. And next door to that is the ice cream shop, which I know always has a very long line. It's called La Artisan des Glaces, and they have different ice cream and sorbet as well. And then they do have some specialties like macaroons that is seasonal different macaroon flavors that makes an ice cream sandwich. So ice cream right in the middle of the macaroons. They have croque glacé, which is like a scoop of ice cream with this homemade brioche that's pressed and warm. They have this iced cappuccino with a scoop of ice cream in it. And then they have kind of a waffle bowl that they have like almost a sundae that goes in there, ice cream, whipped cream, and different sauce. They do have an ice cream martini in this shop as well. And then lots of different flavors. So they have traditional like vanilla and chocolate, but also praline, cinnamon caramel apple, coconut white chocolate, coffee ice cream, yogurt and blueberry, mint chocolate, mango sorbet, raspberry sorbet, strawberry sorbet, and pina colada. So lots of different options here. Have you ever gotten ice cream from here, Dad, that you can remember?
I never have. I always wanted to, but the line was always a mile long, it seemed like.
Yeah.
So I just never bothered. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
want to
think
wait for, when your kids were young, I was like, yeah, let's go to a soft serve place somewhere and get ice cream.
Yeah, I think it's very small inside, and so the line is very long, but it also looks longer because not very much of it is inside. So and it can get hot, obviously, standing outside, and then everything melts fast if you're there during the hot season. But it is supposed to be very good. So something that would be fun to try sometime for sure. And then another restaurant, there is the Chefs de France. And this is a smaller, kind of more quick service restaurant. They have like things like French onion soup, escargot, which I thought was interesting. They do have different salads here as well. And then some of their main entrees are like filet of salmon with rice. They do have this baked macaroni, ratatouille, and different like braised beef. And this is more expensive. Like, oh, this actually, I'm sorry, this is a sit down restaurant, not a quick service restaurant, but it's a little more expensive between like 37 to 40-ish dollars for some of these entrees. Some of them, like the mac and cheese, are cheaper, but still like $26 for mac and cheese seems a little crazy to me personally. And they do have lots of different alcohol and bottles of wine and stuff there. The lunch and dinner menu is the same, so a little bit pricier. But then next to that is a very expensive restaurant that is for dinner only. It's a signature dining experience and it's called Monsieur Paul. And this is a very hard place to get a reservation to for what from what I have heard. It is a prefixed menu, so you have to order what you basically choose one appetizer, entree, and dessert, and it's $200 per adult plus tax and gratuity. So extremely expensive. They have this starter cocktail that everyone gets. They have hors d'oeuvres like lobster salad, escargot, saffron mussel soup, different fish courses. They have a palate cleanser, then different meat courses that you choose. And then they also have assortment of cheese, and then you get dessert. So it's a huge meal. You're getting like 5 courses, but it's extremely expensive. So nothing that I think I would ever want to do. I'm assuming this is nothing you have ever thought to do either, Dad.
Didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very expensive. And then towards the front of the pavilion, they have this outdoor kitchen, which is just a very small, like walk up and order kiosk. And they have different assortments of things for like the different festivals. Currently with Flower and Garden, they have things like different gnocchis, warm hazelnut chocolate cake. They have different drinks as well, like the La Vie and Rosé flush, frozen slushy. They have this sparkling cantaloupe melon cocktail. So this place in particular switches out with what's available during the festivals. And then their last kind of quick service booth is mostly drinks. It's the Les Vins des Chefs de France. And actually it looks like it's all drinks. There's different slushes, like an orange slush that has like rum in it, a Grey Goose citron vodka and lemonade slush. And they do have this Grey Goose citron shot slush. And they have wines as well as champagne and beer that you can get there. So the different slushes kind of range about $15 to $22. Some of the wines are expensive. It looks like the beer is the cheapest thing. That's about $10, and some Chardonnays are about the same price. But for the most part, just more expensive and mostly, like I said, all drinks actually from what I see here. And then I lied, there's one more restaurant. This is the Outdoor Kitchen La Isla Fresca. And this has some different seasonal offers as well for the different festivals. So right now they have Jamaican jerk chicken, they have this citrus slushy, and the seafood ceviche. So again, rotates through depending on the festival. So France has a lot of different food options between all of these restaurants, multiple sit down places, multiple quick serve places, multiple just quick grab and go places. So there's a lot happening in France. And then moving over into the UK, they have a couple of places that you can stop and eat. The first is the Rose and Crown Dining Room and Pub, and this opened October 1st, 1982. It has been refurbished a few times. It's only open for dinner, and a fireworks package is available as it sits right on the water, and it's a great spot for the nighttime show. The appetizers include a coronation salad and a Scotch egg, which is like a golden fried hard boiled egg wrapped in sausage with mustard sauce. The entrees do include fish and chips, bangers and mash, shepherd's pie, and a savory impossible meat hot pot, which kind of range between $25 to $31. Desserts include stick toffee pudding and a plant-based seasonal gelato. And this is about $8 to $10. The menu used to be a lot bigger, but they actually scaled it down after the last refurbishment a few years ago. And restaurant guests can order from the pub that is attached to the restaurant. However, the pub that is attached to the restaurant, if you're on the pub side and don't have a reservation for the restaurant, you cannot order food. So the pub is only drinks if you're in there. They do have a live piano player. It's very lively. It's almost always packed in there. And there's lots of different beverages, kind of ranging from the Leaping Leprechaun, Welsh Dragon, Pim's Cup, and wine and sangria, along with flights of whiskey and malt flights. The Scotch whiskey, 2 ounce pours, cognacs, and sodas. But again, no food is available on the pub side, so just beware. And the restaurant side, it's just a lot more limited since they've done this last refurbishment. Have you guys ever eaten in here, Dad, before they refurbed it?
Never ate there. I always wanted to, not that I'm not that I'm a drinker,
Yeah.
but to be able to set up so you could see the nighttime show at Epcot, I think it would be great for
Yeah.
that reason. And that's the only reason I ever wanted to do it, to eat there. Other than that, I never have. There was never, I don't know. It didn't seem overly appealing to me for whatever reason, but it is very popular and seems always packed there all the time.
Yeah, and that's same for me. I mean, the food, especially with the more limited menu now, it's not a lot of things that I would necessarily want to eat. So I don't know that it would be worth paying the money, but it is a great spot for the show. So my advice is go a little further up over the bridge, like you're going to France, and park it right there. And that's an awesome spot that you can eat sit for free. So yeah, but it is, like you said, extremely popular. So then the other restaurant that is in the UK is the Yorkshire County Fish Shop. This actually opened in 1999, October 1st, and it has counter service quick eats like beer battered fish and chips for 13.50, as well as sides like they actually have cutie mandarins and chips. And then fountain beverages that are available, like some breakfast teas, as well as regular coffee and water bottles. So very limited menu, small. I've never eaten here because we're not able to really eat fish, so I've never stopped here. I'm assuming you have also never eaten here. Dad, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, I'm sure my wife would love it, but we just never have.
Yeah, yeah. And then moving on over into Canada, Canada does have a Joffrey's location, which is Disney's coffee place. And they have this iced strawberry island latte, which is the current offering for the Flower and Garden Festival. Again, it rotates depending on the different festivals. They do serve the typical coffee, latte assortments, double espressos, and frozen cappuccinos, as well as this signature frozen lemon drink. And they do have different alcoholic drinks as well. The spirited beverages that they offer are $15 each, and they're actually the same beverages as what is served at the Joffrey's in the American Pavilion. So the espresso martini, sunset strawberry lemonade, and tea breeze. And that's really all at this like small coffee stand. Then they also have the very popular Les Cellier Steakhouse in Canada. And this was an opening day restaurant. It does serve a prix-fixe menu that is both the same at lunch and dinner. It's often called one of Walt Disney World's best restaurants. And if you're using the Disney dining plan, it does take 2 dining plan credits for the meal. So oftentimes people will not use this one on the dining plan because it takes 2 credits. The appetizers include things like shrimp cocktail, green salad, escargot, poutine, a cheese plate, and a Canadian cheddar soup, which range kind of from $14 to $21 each. Entrees include filet mignon, bison strip loin, dry aged Duroc pork chop, ribeye steak, New York strip steak, and you can also add other enhancements like truffle scallops and lump crab. And then they do have also non-steak things like and non-seafood things like this chicken. They do have this campanile pasta and salmon. Sides include things like pommes frites or French fries, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, glazed carrots, and braised mushrooms and Brussels sprouts. The entrees range from about $36 to $65, depending on if you get the enhancements or not. The sides are about $10.50 to $14, and it doesn't look like the entrees include a side, which I thought was interesting and also can get expensive very fast. But correct me on that if I'm wrong, listeners, if you know. And the dessert menu does have to be what looks like delicious offerings: sorbet, creme brulee, artisanal chocolates, maple cookies and macaroons, which sound great, chocolate cheesecake, and this profiterole, which I'm sure I'm not saying that right, ranging from $12 to $16. Now, Dad, did you eat here before?
I've eaten here once. We took my mother-in-law, my wife's mom, and the three of us before we went to the candlelight processional. This would have been probably 2012, 2013. And we went steak dinner and then went over to the processional. I thought it was good. Steak places are always, pricey, but that was fine. We knew that going in. But for some reason, uh, I wasn't real impressed with the atmosphere there. It was really loud. It was low ceilings, and we had unfortunately a family with small children. No offense, Olivia, that were the kids were screaming and throwing a fuss and wanted to color, and it was because of that and the low ceilings. It was real noisy in there. But other than that, the food was good. We had a good meal, and but I would see myself going back there anytime soon. So it's been a while, and I probably wouldn't return for unless it was a special occasion or something.
Yeah, I've heard that it's very crowded and noisy. Like the tables are very close together, and maybe because the ceilings, it's very noisy. But yeah, that it's a little disappointing because of that, but that the food is usually really good. So I guess just kind of depends on what you're looking for, and just be wary. It might not be like a peaceful dinner date place. You are at Disney World with young kids, so a lot of, times that's part of the issue. And so that is all the dining options. Obviously, France has a ton. UK just had a few, and Canada only has a few as well. And then moving over to the meet and greets. So in the UK, you can meet Alice and Mary Poppins. There's kind of two different meet and greets in that area, and they're both really fun ones. I think Mary Poppins is a really unique character. So is Alice, but Mary Poppins in the UK is pretty awesome and fits great. So obviously Alice does too. And then in France, you can meet Aurora, which we did actually with Dad and Doreen when we went a few last year with Eileen. They got her to sign her little frame. And Belle is over there. We actually have not met Belle over there before. We did meet her when we were at the Fairy Tale Hall when Tiana was MIA, when we were just there in March. But Belle in France would be a pretty cool meet and greet. So those are the ones that are listed currently on the app. They sometimes have surprise people out, but that is what's there right now. And then there are some notable shops and experiences. So in Canada, the maple popcorn is a big deal, and a lot of people talk about that. It's supposed to be delicious. They also have different alcoholic beverages at this popcorn stand as well, and that's a very popular place for people to go. There also is the current band that plays in the UK called Command Performance. And this is located back in the gardens in the UK pavilion that play British rock from the 1960s through the 1990s underneath the gazebo. Again, like we talked about in the beginning, music like the Beatles, Duran Duran, and the group brings decades of the United Kingdom rock to life on the Epcot stage. The set list from one of their previous performances that I found online include Teenage Wasteland from The Who, Rock the Casbah from The Clash, The Fox on the Run from The Sweet, A Hard Day's Night from The Beatles, Pretty in Pink from The Psychedelic Furs, Rio from Duran Duran, and Rock and Roll from Led Zeppelin. The group has previously been named the English Channel, the British Invasion, and the British Revolution, and they put on 25-minute shows that approximately run every hour and 15 minutes or hour or so, kind of depending on the time of year, usually sometimes starting in the late afternoon until about 8. So there's usually five-ish shows that they have each day. You kind of have to check the app to see the show times. I remember going back here as kids and listening to this band. It's not all the time, but often enough that it sticks in my mind. And at the time, I believe they were called the British Invasion when we went a lot, kind of in the early 2000s. Is that right?
Yes, it was British invasion. Yeah, we saw them a lot, and Doreen and I went there many times. '07, '08, I think right before they changed over to the next group, and these at that point already. Those guys are pretty older guys. You see them up close, like, oh, these guys are older guys. But it was very good, and I always enjoy going back there and listening to music back there. I wish I had more seating because you kind of have to sit like on. I don't know if you probably remember. There's only a few benches. It's not really designed maybe to have like this big concert. You have to kind of find a place or a sidewalk or someplace to sit down and hang out for a while. But yeah, it's always a good time back there.
Yeah, I remember like sitting on curbs or like sitting against railings and stuff like that more than the actual benches. Gretchen and I did go back here when we were there last year, and we did find a bench, but we got there pretty early and kind of sat there. And it was fun to see the different like eras of people that were there. There was really a lot older people, there was really young people, there were obviously little kids, and so it was funny to see everyone kind of enjoying the set list that they had put on. It was nice. And again, free experience that's there when you're already there for the park with the live show. It is outside, so it can get hot. There's not a lot of shade back there, so just be prepared for that as well. Definitely, especially in the late afternoon, it can be cooking in Epcot at that time. Closer to sunset would be a little better if you can figure that out. So that is everything for the rest of the World Showcase. And now, as we get wrapped up here, we're going to do an old versus new. And I'm curious, since you have eaten at both, what would you prefer? The Le Cellier Steakhouse in Canada, or Cellier? I don't know how I'm saying that, if that's right. And via Napoli in Italy. Dad, what do you think your choice would be?
Definitely the Italian restaurant. I'd like to take the Italian restaurant and put it in Canada. Then I'd just Canada would be great.
Yeah.
But no, the Cellier Steakhouse again, as I mentioned, I was not impressed. Food was good, atmosphere was terrible, but I love Italian probably more than any other type of food. So, and I love that restaurant. So it definitely have to be the Via Napoli for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I agree. I think the price of the steakhouse, and I'm not a huge steak person, as well as like you said, the atmosphere. I think I would prefer Via Napoli for a little more reasonable price. And I love, yeah, Italian food. There's just a lot of different stuff there that I would eat. So I agree with that one. I really like it for sure. And then for our quiz question for this week, the question is. What is the significance of the American flag on display at the American Adventure Pavilion? It says this particular flag was recovered from the World Trade Center rubble after the 9/11 attacks. This particular flag was a gift from Queen Elizabeth II. This particular flag was the first flag ever flown on the moon, or this particular flag was presented by George Washington. I'm guessing it wasn't a gift from Queen Elizabeth II, because why would she gift an American flag to us?
I would say 9/11.
Yeah, that's what I can think. I can't imagine it was
I,
presented
I
by
don't know.
George
I
Washington.
don't know that as a guess, but I would say 9/11.
Okay. Yep, that's right. So the flag in the American Adventure Pavilion that's on display was recovered from the World Trade Center rubble after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. That's actually really cool. Very cool. So that is everything for the World Showcase. Next up, we're going to move on to the different neighborhoods on the other side of the park and kind of work our way through those spaces. And as we get into them, they've obviously changed a lot, especially in the last 5 years. So there's a lot of change to kind of talk about. If you haven't already, go back and listen to our Parks of the Past Epcot series so you can see what was there before. And it's as we talk about what is there now. And do we love the changes? Do we hate the changes? Are we somewhere in between? I know for the World Showcase, for the most part, most of the changes they've done haven't hurt anything. They've kind of helped things besides losing some of that educational aspect. But there's a lot of space back in these World Showcase pavilions, a lot more that could be done. So we're going to have to put our thinking caps on when we get to our future episodes of what we would put in some of this space and these pavilions. But that is all for Epcot for this week. We will see y'all next week as we get back into the rest of the park.
See you next week.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to give us a follow on Instagram at Soarin Around WDW Pod, where we share fun reels, throwback photos, and dive into our old versus new debates. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. And for our Spotify listeners, a follow and a 5-star review would mean the world. If you're listening on Apple, hit that 5-star button and leave us a written review as well. Thanks again for joining us. See you next time.